Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with Tracy, and welcome to anyone who's going to watch this back, maybe afterwards as well. Today, we're actually talking a bit about what we went through when we left our roles until we've kind of got to where we are today, because we recognize a lot of people who are potentially being forced in terms of what's going on in the world to make change within their career, which maybe wasn't planned and maybe it feels a bit uncomfortable. So we thought we'd share our stories in an effort to try and help you see where there might be opportunities for you to step in or, create change that maybe you didn't see the opportunity for before. So welcome, Tracy. What have you got to say? Was there anything I've missed?
No, I think it was really, like, speaking from my experience, I think there's a lot to be said for not only kind of tuning into what it is you might need to do next, but also I think it's really important to tune into what you want to leave behind, of what you want to, what have you outgrown, like what no longer serves you. I think that's something that's really important to talk about and pay attention to, because obviously we both walked away from long serving careers, basically in engineering and tech, and I think there's something to be said about that.
And part of this is actually trying to help you stay in tech. We want people to stay. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of learning that can come out of it. And I love what you just said there about actually consciously, what do I choose to leave behind me and change going forward? And that is a big part of, the reason I left industry. I think I said last time, I didn't have an idea as to what I was going to do when I left. And I really did the coaching as self-development for me. It was not, I'm leaving industry, I'm planning to become a coach. That was not where I was at. And I don't think that was necessarily where you were at either, in terms of you were leaving and you just wanted to do something different.
Yeah, exactly this. I think that, so I left my job unexpectedly. And so what I would say is, like, literally just before everything kind of blew up for my life, is that I was already looking within. I was already thinking about what I really like about my job and what I'm no longer enjoying. And I'm sure that you're probably going to be aligned with this, but like for me, it was really about growth, and it was really about who I wanted to be as a leader. Because like I did lose my job, but I think that in my mind, I've always wanted to be better at what I do. And when I was kind of coming up to like the period that was in which I'd been in leadership for about 5 years, basically. And I was getting to the point where I thought, how can I be a better leader? And that's exactly why I kind of looked into coaching, because I wanted to learn more about how to speak to people, or basically how to get the best out of someone else. And I really felt like coaching was a way to do that. And, for the first 6 months or so, like just after like leaving my job, it was in my brain, I was thinking, this is only going to serve me as a leader. So I wanted to kind of build on my skills. But at the same time, I was already asking and questioning myself about what else I can really do, and to try to really lean in and accentuate the skills that I already had.
Yeah, I love that. Because I'd been on this journey, I must admit, for about 5-7 years before I ended up leaving. And my journey was similar. In fact, I knew I didn't fit. I knew I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't know why. I didn't know what I wanted to do differently. And actually, my trigger was going through burnout and then my mum dying as like this, I need to change something, and use coaching as a way to kind of understand what I wanted to change. Primarily, actually, because everyone had always said to me, you lead by coaching. And I'd never really understood what they meant. So I thought, oh, I'll go and explore what this is. And maybe it's a good way into self-development. And I do think when you are in a position where you don't know what you want to do, or a change has happened and it maybe wasn't your decision, actually having something to focus on that helps you, understand what that could look like as an opportunity. So trying to turn it on its head to create an opportunity out of it. Because with everything, I think, and all the stuff that you and I have been through, Tracy, we've had a lot happen to us, and we've always found a way to look for the opportunity, even when it hurts, even when it's uncomfortable, because that is the choice I think we can all make in terms of how we view what's happening to us.
Yeah, and I think just definitely to kind of yes and what you're saying about opportunity is that I think that leaving my job, and I had just come out of a period of working as an expatriate. So as a result of that, like I did have money in the bank. I did actually have money in the bank, and so I did look at, well, what would I regret not doing right now? And it was like I had the opportunity there to take a break. I had the opportunity to soul search a little bit. I had an opportunity to heal, basically, and so I took that opportunity, and I leaned into it, and I said to myself, because I'm based in Italy, and I lost my job in June, and then basically in August Italy just shuts down for like a month, basically, and you can't really do anything, like sort of maybe like 1 or 2 weeks either side of August, basically. So the opportunity I also gave myself was to rest, was to actually rest and take some time out. And I think that this is something that, okay, put my hand up and say that not everybody has that opportunity to do that, but I think there's always a moment for you to think about, okay, what can I do now? What can I do that can help me center myself, to help me realign with myself, and actually, like, because a bit like yourself, as you mentioned, you had a burnout. I also suffered a burnout, and I was still healing. From that, and I had a lot of personal work to do. And so I invested in myself. So I invested in myself with counseling. I took the opportunity that I had living in Italy to go to the beach and rest, and actually take the summer off, which was something I had not done. Like, basically, I'd been working continuously, which is also very lucky. I'd been working continuously and very hard for 17 years, basically. I didn't actually have any other career break. So I think that this is something else that needs to be considered. Like, what can you actually do?
Yeah, I mean, the thing you bring up is, and it's the thing I think probably as coaches we talk about the most, all of this change starts with getting to know yourself better. And
Yes.
unfortunately, it's a
Yes.
thing we know least about. We're taught how to think, we're not taught how to feel, how to build relationships, how to reflect and understand what we want and what's important to us. And so obviously, like Tracy said, this is where you potentially need somebody externally, or a good friend, somebody who can reflect back at you, or ask us. We'll give you coaching questions. You don't necessarily need to go on a full coaching program, but just something to help you pull that out.
Yes.
Because although we're saying this is an opportunity, I'm not trying to downplay the discomfort, the pain that I know I went through when I was on this journey of change. It's very important that you don't try and like flip the positive onto everything. You take the time to actually understand and honor the fact that you might feel hurt, you might feel grief, you might feel all of these different things, but that doesn't necessarily negate the fact you may also be excited by the opportunity. This conundrum, I guess, almost, is people say, when you say, how are you feeling? It's like, I'm feeling frustrated, angry, whatever. You might also somewhere in there be excited and be, looking for the opportunity. But just, it is about letting the emotions be. We're emotional beings. And I always say, I love the saying that emotion is energy in motion. If you let it be, if you let it sink, if you let it, you allow it to be, then actually it moves through a lot quicker. Whereas I know a lot of people, a lot of us kind of, and this is what I did for years, bottle it up, just try and stop it, whatever. Actually, I'd say that's what led to my burnout, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
So just an encouragement that it still might not feel comfortable, though we're going to try and help you focus on the positives. We're not trying to negate the fact that this is a very uncomfortable position for most of us to be in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's something that I needed to do as well, because it would have been very, very easy for me to just, once I lost my job, just to move back to the UK and just keep going and get a new job in the same field, doing the same thing, making the same mistakes, and then burning myself out again. So like, I think that there had to be, I'm trying to think about like what was my mindset like, but I think that I'd been questioning myself and asking myself, like, is this all it is? Is this what it's really all about? And I think it's quite a big question. And I think that I'm actually really, really glad that I took the moment to pause, because it ended up being like a much, much bigger pause. But it was something that I genuinely really needed, because I needed something to disrupt the routine.
Right.
Because it would have been too, because I would have just completely have fallen into the exact same pattern if I hadn't have stopped, basically. And I'm still in that feeling. I sometimes do still feel like I'm in a moment of pause, because I've paused my my corporate career, my industry career. I've paused that because I do need to completely step back from the old patterns and the old kind of assumptions and the old kind of mindset. And I did speak to like a career counselor. I did speak to a mental health counselor, and I was learning to be a coach. So I was being coached all the time as well. And also I'm very lucky that I had some very, very supportive friends who also recognized that I needed to pause. So I think that, like, in that combination with that support network, that's what's really, it's honestly changed the course of my whole life, basically.
When you reflect back on that time now, what is it you see that you couldn't see at the point in time?
Yeah, I couldn't see that. I couldn't see that I needed to make a complete change for my career as well.
Right.
That it needed to be a complete shift, because what ended up happening was I was in these coaching sessions where I was trying to come up with a plan of what am I going to do next for job hunting, etc. And it was I was saying, the words that I was saying was, I need to find another job. But my body language and the way that I was saying it was saying something completely different, which was, it was the feedback and the reflections that I got from my coaches was that I was exhausted and I needed a break, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to look.
I love this, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to kind of help the audience a little bit, because whenever you're saying, I need to, I ought to, I must do, I should do, you're giving your power to decide, your human power to decide, to somebody else. Because you're in effect saying, someone else has told me that this is I'm trying to meet the expectations of somebody else. And I always encourage people to say, actually, just turn that on its head. What do you want to do? If you could do anything, what do you want to do? Because that gives you the power back. When you stand in that space of I want rather than I need to, and I was in exactly the same space, Tracy, it gives you that power to decide. And it just can sometimes be enough to kind of unlock the thinking as to, okay, what everyone else thinks I should be doing is irrelevant. It's what I want to do. And again, it's not something we're taught or we're not taught at all. We're taught actually not to say I want as a child, this I want. That's actually not what we're trying to do. But if you can get clear as to what you want, then you can move towards it. Yeah. And, this is just one thing that I just came to mind as you were talking there, was it really helps unlock it when you can and you can stand strongly behind what you want to do.
Yeah, and I will totally back that up. And I think that this is something that we are both like pursuing to kind of help our clients with, is to make sure that people can ask for what they want. But I totally echo what you're saying. Not everybody knows what they want. I think that there's so many people that are just falling. Yeah, no, and I didn't know either. And I think that so many of us are just sort of like, I will continue to do the thing that I'm doing because this is what I know.
Yeah.
As opposed to
safer, or it's perceived to be safer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, yes, it was scary. It was really scary to think about something else. But because I'd had that support that really helped reflect back to me about how I had been feeling. Because not only like had I found a counselor just after I lost my job, but I've been in counseling on and off like over like 10, 15 years. And like, and in my final year in China, I also had a counselor because my anxiety was through the roof. So like I had to really reflect about, this is not what I want. And this is another thing that what I had to recognize was really tapping into, what do I not want? Because job opportunities did come up, and other opportunities did come up, and my network, bless them, thank you, network. But they had come forward to me with job opportunities, and I said no.
Right.
I said no, and I said repeatedly no to like there was one opportunity that like a couple of people talked to me about. And so if you don't know what you want, start thinking about and paying attention to what you don't want.
Yeah, and that's very much a feeling in your body. You will feel what you don't want. And actually being able to listen to that. I often say sometimes it's easier to feel and to hear what you don't want because of the very physical reaction you will quite often have to it. You might not be able to put it into words, you might not be able to explain it, but you will feel it in your body that something is wrong, that doesn't feel right. Please listen to that, because these are our feelings drive how we're thinking. So it is sometimes, like Tracy's saying, actually easier to write down what I don't want and start making a list, so that if something comes up, you're actually very clear as to, is that something I want? And I often say to my clients, actually, to make themselves like a sweetie shop list, to pick a mix list as to everything you do want for a new role. Because it just helps you, even then, if you don't get everything, you're actually looking for what it is that you do want. And obviously neither of us have gone back into roles, but I always, when I left industry, I was a bit like you. I basically said, well, you know what, I'm going to go try, and it's okay if it doesn't work out. I'm okay to go and find myself another job. I know that the skills I've got are valuable in industry, so I can always walk back in, but at the same time I want to try something different.
Yes,
Even though I
exactly.
didn't know what different was.
No, exactly. And I think that there's, life is to try. This is what life is all about. It's about challenging. It is about challenging yourself. And I think that there's definitely something to pay attention to, is the vocabulary that you use to yourself in these moments, because I think that and I do want to hear your feedback on this, but like, when I was training to be a coach and I was talking to my friends about it, I didn't always get a good response from what they were saying. Like, I was wanting to try something different. I was wanting to try to give back to others, because this is something that I knew that I needed to lean into, which is like, I want to give back to someone. I want to give back to others. And, I think that some people are scared of going against the curve or going against the grain, and people are scared for you to go against the grain as well. Whereas, like, I've lived my life in a very kind of slightly unconventional way, where I haven't tried to go to conventions. I'm not going to say like I've been like an anti-traditionalist, but like I'm not really ticking any of the big kind of like life boxes. But I think it's so important to ensure that you have a supportive network around you that understands what the importance on doing something that's good for you, as opposed to like what everybody thinks you should be doing.
Yeah, totally. The one reflection I've got: when you make change, not everybody's comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Not everybody sees you in that new role or in that changed role. And some people are trying to protect you, and other people, it just unfortunately brings out where they maybe are struggling themselves. It's nothing to do with you, but you do need to surround yourselves with people who inspire you, who give you energy and can help you through this period of change. It can be really difficult. And I know you've had to redesign relationships with friends, so have I, through the changes that we've been through. And there are some people you get closer to, there are other people who become more distant to you. And it doesn't necessarily need to be forever, but maybe during that period of change. So
Yes.
just recognizing who can help you today, and asking for what you need from your friends. Like Tracy said, I went and asked people for support in finding myself a new job. I went and asked people for support with giving me ideas and reflections as to how I was reacting. All of this is useful. It gives you different perspectives. None of it's right. You get to choose how you show up. You get to make your own decisions. But having multiple perspectives and different ideas coming at you during a period of change just might spark something. That you go, oh, wow. And I mean, obviously, that's the reason we're doing this conversation today, is to try and help you spark something that maybe you haven't seen before based on our experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, a lot of that comes from community. And like one of my top 5 values is community and friendship. And I think that through going out there and retraining and kind of learning to be a coach, like you enter yourself into these other communities. And like, you know, my coaching program was one of those communities, and I met wonderfully supportive and creative and like imaginative humans who I've connected with, and like who help guide me forward into my coaching business and where I can take it. And obviously LinkedIn has been a wonderful platform where, like, you know, that's how Sarah and I have connected.
Yeah.
And I've connected with many other people, and I'm collaborating with people, and there's so many people out there that are doing good things, that are going against the curve, and they're fighting for what they really believe in. And it's so inspirational to be in a group, in a community like that.
Yeah, and just something that came up to me when you said that was actually, you're never going to regret investing the time in yourself to get to know yourself better and understand more of what you want. It can only benefit you in terms of whatever the job you get next, whichever relationships, personal and business, that you go into, because it is about helping yourself be more grounded, knowing what you need so that you can be there for other people. Most of us want to help others at the end of the day. And this gives you that space to kind of nurture yourself, nourish yourself. So actually, it means you show up differently. And when you're aligned to, like Tracy said, your values, what's important to you, then you're coming from a whole different place. And this is really important for, as I see it, the future of leadership, where we need to go within businesses, creating these inclusive environments where everyone can thrive. It's, you know, it starts with self-leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Sarah, because like we're both crazy about values. You know, that is like something that's just so paramount about the way that we work and the way that we live and the way that we show up. And, you know, like Sarah mentioned, her leadership program is all about trying to find values. And for me, like, this is like the biggest takeaway for myself and for my life for the last year and a half. In the last year and a half, it's been about recognizing and honoring my values again and again and again, and baking that into who I am and baking that into my own business, like all the time. I think that
aligning.
Aligning, yeah, absolutely. And I think that when I first did an exercise about how to find your values, I think it must have been maybe August, not this year, but the year before, August or September. And what I would say is that, you know, it is, I did the initial test, and then over a period of maybe 6 months later, I updated it. I updated my values, because I think that one thing you need to be aware of is, like, yes, you can have your values and what you think. But I think that when I first kind of came up with my set of values, it was more about like what I was aspiring to be rather than who I was right now. Yeah. And so I think I was trying to kind of like shoehorn it in a little bit about it being about this and that, but actually, like, when I moved forward and when I was paying attention to what was happening in my life and the decisions that I was making for my life, I'm like, no, it's not this, it's something else. And so since then, it's been so important. And every decision I've made for myself, for my business, it always goes back to values.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. And people say this about values, you say it about them. I got the recognition through doing my strengths test and really realizing that everything I've been downplaying were actually my strengths. But the same kind of thing, the closer you can get to you, what's important to you, what you're good at, you know, what your life story's been up until now, it will help you in any decision that you've got to make going forward, because you can come back to it as reground. What is it that's important today? And it might change, like Tracy said. You might suddenly recognize there's something else, especially when you go through changes in life. But it's really important to ground against those things that are really important to you, because that's actually where you bring your passion in. That's where you get excited. That's where you can create more energy and sparks. And we need that in the world. Yeah. So we've got one question that's come in from Ravinda, thank you, which is asking us whether we've got any tips on volunteering. Ooh. So I'll start, Tracy, and maybe you can come on. So I do quite a lot of volunteering in terms of mentoring and groups. I'm always looking for people who I know I can benefit. I've got the skills that I can help them with. And I volunteer locally with a kids charity, an underprivileged kids charity, because my kids are adopted, and actually this could have been my children, basically, was always the way I grounded on it. But I'm trying to inspire them to recognize that they're the future And so taking very simple skills that I use through my coaching programs, but really simplifying them and giving them the opportunity to see something else about themselves. So I always think when volunteering, it's where can I add value? And where do I get inspired? So, for example, working with kids, which is different to what I do on a day-to-day with my clients, it's a completely different energy. It's a completely different framework. And that's why it excites me. But I don't think there's a right or a wrong in terms of volunteering. But I do think it gives you that feeling that you're giving something back. And actually, it's super important as humans. It's one of the things that helps us feel more relaxed and like we've managed to contribute to the world.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think there's a lot of things that I can echo on there, and thank you very much for the question. So I would say that I do volunteer also. I'm also a mentor, and I'm a mentor for it's a program called Kerning the Gap, and it's a mentoring scheme for young women in design. So in terms of why I chose that particular area to volunteer is that it's my world. So it's a world that I know very well. So it means that I understand the pressures and the situations that these young women are going through. And then it's also, as Sarah said, it's a way to give back. So I listened to this wonderful podcast about purpose. And I think a lot of people really struggle with the purpose, and it's about kind of themselves, but it's actually not about themselves. Finding your purpose is about what you can give back, and what do you know that you can share. Like what would you need to have known maybe 5-10 years ago that you know now that you think you can give back? That's your value. And I think that's something that you can try to find something which aligns with that. I'm also I'm about to start another mentoring program called Inspired Women Lead. And this is a year-long mentoring program where I was mentored for 6 months. It's totally free. It's women all over the world. It's like networking, and it's about cultivating a vision. So it's a system that was started in America, and it's thousands of women have been in this network and have gone through the scheme. So I've been mentored for 6 months, and I will be a mentor for 6 months. And so my vision, it's been my business about how can I give back to women in design and engineering. And so it gives a framework for that. So I'm really excited about being able to help another woman kind of build a vision and kind of start to understand themselves as well. So I guess it's what are you curious about? What are you wanting to stand up for? What are you really passionate about is the way to kind of look forwards of how you can give back.
Do you know what just came to me as you were saying? It's actually the same as what we were just saying about getting to know yourself. It helps you, once you know what it is you want, what your values are, to actually be able to make these kind of decisions, but also be very cautious about trying to take on too much at any one time. So we're also key for giving out almost too much of ourselves and then not being able to take the space and the time that we need. So
absolutely.
And it's a great way to finish. Thank you very much. And Ravinda, thank you for your questions. And if anyone else has got questions or there's something you want to ask us, either drop us a line or ask in the chat at the bottom of this, or the comments at the bottom of this talk. And give us ideas, things that would help you make that next step, things that you don't know the answer to, that you maybe think that maybe we can help you with. We're here to try and open up discussions that you're not hearing elsewhere. So if there's something that's going on in your business and you feel uncomfortable with it, you don't know how to deal with it, please ask us the question. We're more than happy to come online and have these kind of conversations, because this is how we can make change. And this is how we can inspire and help a broader audience than just the people that we're working with on a day-to-day basis. So Tracy, amazing as always. Thank you very much for all of your inputs. Is there anything you'd like to say to finish us off?
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to have a chat. Yes, please reach out if you do need support. And, it's a very challenging time, and it's a very scary time once you're kind of out in the wilderness, but there are people that can help. You don't have to do this on your own. There's plenty of other people that have gone through the same kind of process. That doesn't invalidate how you feel. You're entitled to feel how you feel, and please feel all the feels. But the important thing is, please surround yourself with people who want to support you. And wishing everybody good luck in this challenging time.
Take care. Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye.
See you next time.